All right, folks. So hi, everyone, and welcome to the Global Forest Watch Small Grants Fund webinar. Today, we'll be going over the application process for the Small Grants Fund before diving into a live demonstration of the Global Forest Watch platform and an overview of the Forest Watcher mobile application. We'll also have plenty of time at the end for questions. Before we get started, I wanted to give an overview of how you can ask us questions about the webinar or communicate with us if you're having technical difficulties. If you have a question about what we're presenting, please click on the Q&A button and type it in there. At the end of our presentation, we'll have some time to answer questions that were typed into that section. If you're having technical difficulties, please communicate directly with us through the chat button. Please note that we will not be closely tracking content-related questions placed in the chat section, only in the Q&A section. So in other words, the Q&A is for questions and the chat is for technical difficulties. So I'm Colton Naval, and I'm joined by my colleague, Alice Gottesman, and together we will be presenting today's webinar. I'm the project coordinator for GFW's Grants and Fellowships program, where I support operations, communications, and capacity building of the Small Grants Fund, Tech Fellowship, and other global engagement initiatives. Alice is GFW's user outreach specialist. She works across GFW to develop marketing campaigns for GFW features and products. So today we're going to start off by introducing Global Forest Watch. Then we're going to provide an overview of the Small Grants Fund application process and eligibility criteria. We'll then provide a demo of the GFW map and dashboards and an introduction to the Forest Watcher mobile application. We'll also talk about some potential project categories before diving into time for questions. So Global Forest Watch offers the latest data and cutting-edge technology to empower people everywhere to better manage, protect, and restore forest landscapes. We feature hundreds of freely available datasets, most significantly forest change datasets that use a variety of satellites to detect forest clearing. This includes annual tree cover loss data, weekly deforestation alerts, and daily fire alerts. Our cutting-edge technology allows anyone to access near real-time information about where and how forests are changing around the world and is entirely free. We believe that transparency and accessibility to data are key for better forest monitoring. And while Global Forest Watch is housed at the World Resources Institute, one of the things we like to emphasize is that GFW is a global partnership of nearly 200 tech and data providers and users, including governments, journalists, researchers, civil society organizations, communities, and former Small Grants Fund recipients and tech fellows. So forests face many threats, from extractive industries to climate change. Global Forest Watch seeks to address this by gathering strong, accurate, and timely data, providing the tools for analysis, and sharing it freely with all users. Here's an example of what you can see on the GFW platform. This particular data set is the near real-time GLAD deforestation alerts. Those are the pink dots that are appearing on the screen. This GIF visualizes as tree cover loss spreads, indicating a new logging road entering a national buffer zone in Peru. So our theory of change is that by translating satellite imagery and combining it with local contextual data, government officials, civil society organizations, communities, and the private sector can use this information to enact policies for sustainable forest management, be held accountable to global commitments, improve supply chains, and empower forest defenders, ultimately leading to better outcomes for forests. And as I mentioned before, GFW is truly a global partnership. As you can see here, we have hundreds of partners and collaborators all working towards the common goal of reducing global deforestation. This is the partnership you will become a part of as a grantee. So now diving into the Small Grants Fund. The Small Grants Fund's objective is to promote broad uptake and innovative use of GFW tools and data by civil society organizations around the world. Successful projects translate forest monitoring information into action, applying GFW to overcome challenges in protecting the world's forests. A bit more on timeline and funding. The application deadline for the Small Grants Fund is March 1st, 2020, with projects running from August 1st, 2020 through July 31st, 2021. And the grant award range is 10,000 to 40,000 US dollars. So in terms of the benefits, as I mentioned, the financial benefit and the grant award itself, we also have technical benefits in terms of trainings and technical assistance that are provided throughout the grantee's project cycle. And as I mentioned before, grantees will become a part of a network of organizations and receive benefits that extend beyond the lifetime of their grant, including membership in the GFW partnership, opportunities to connect with like-minded groups through GFW events and online forums, participation in GFW trainings and webinars, and opportunities to test new GFW features and applications. Your work could also be highlighted in WRI's newsletters, blogs, and social media. In terms of the eligibility requirements for the Small Grants Fund, it's only open to organizations that are legally constituted as nonprofit and non-governmental. Your organization must have a total annual budget that is greater than 50,000 US dollars. You must also have a computerized financial system for tracking and recording your expenses. And ideally, this system would be a professional accounting software. You can still apply if you use Microsoft Excel, but an internet-based program can reduce the amount of reporting your organization will be required to do if awarded the grant. You must also be able to complete an organizational assessment and reporting documents in fluent English. For selected grantees, we will go into more detail about the organizational assessment and reporting requirements in a future webinar. You must also demonstrate and clearly articulate how you will use near real-time data on GFW, specifically the GLAD deforestation alerts, to enhance local responses to forest threats. And then finally, projects must focus on one of the following geographic regions. Whether your organization is based there or not, they must be conducting work in one of these countries. So in terms of the application, again, just a reminder that to get your applications in by March 1st, you're going to want to complete the full application, including an uploaded budget and log frame, which is available on the application website. Please be sure to read the 2020 guidelines for applicants and the Small Grants Fund FAQ before and as you're filling out your applications. Again, another reminder that it's due by March 1st, 2020. The qualifying applications will go through a 3-stage review process, including an initial review, an internal review, and committee review before final selection. And as noted here, around 10 projects will be selected, but this is a range depending on the amount of funding requested. So all the information I've covered in this presentation can be found on our webpage, specifically within our FAQ and guidelines for applicants. This PowerPoint will also be made available to all of you and includes a link to the various resources you will need to review as you complete your applications. Now let's navigate to that page. As you can see here under the Apply tab, there are resources here for the Small Grants Fund. Here are the guidelines for applicants. It's very important, as I mentioned, to read through this carefully before you apply and to keep referencing it as you are completing your applications. Here's a link to the Small Grants Fund Frequently Asked Questions and a link to a webinar highlighting some of the past Small Grants Fund project recipients, which will give you an idea of the types of projects we are looking for. And finally, here is a link that will take you directly to our online application system. You can also check out the Projects tab here to learn more about our past grantees and the types of projects they worked on and their geographic focus. Once it queues up, of course, here we go. And then this About tab just gives a brief overview of the Small Grants Fund program. So this wraps it up for the Small Grants Fund portion. And now I'm going to turn it over to Alice, who will give a run through of the GFW map, dashboard, and Forest Watcher mobile application.
All right, so Global Forest Watch was launched in 2014 as a fully interactive online platform with forest monitoring data for the whole world. GFW's open data policy ensures completely free access to its hundreds of data sets and code so that anyone can build on the information to produce new research and spin-off applications. While GFW offers a variety of tools, today we'll review the main platform and Forest Watcher mobile app, since these are most useful for monitoring, which is the focus of the Small Grants Fund. So I'll run you through the GFW platform. First, you can navigate to the website by going to globalforestwatch.org. And from the home page, you can easily access the map, the dashboard, some more information on forest-related topics, the blog, and some more information about Global Forest Watch on the About page. The topics that we have here are biodiversity, climate, commodities, and water. So you can click in one of those to learn more about it. So as you scroll through the home page, you can find some more information about how you can start to explore our data, some of our use cases, more information about our applications and tools, and finally, some announcements that are regularly updated. So now let's go to the map. You can click here to navigate to it, but I've preloaded the map. So as you can see, the data covers the entirety of the globe. One interesting feature to note is that as you move the map to view different areas, the URL in the browser changes, and this allows you to easily share the exact map view that you're on. So the three data sets that are automatically applied when you visit the map are tree cover gain, tree cover loss, and tree cover. You can identify which color is associated with each data set on the panel on the left-hand side, as well as what years the data covers. This is important to note because the years during which one data set was measured may differ from another data set. So now if you look at the map, you can see where each color is and understand what the color indicates. So if we look at Brazil and we note where the pink is on the map, we can understand where tree cover loss has occurred. With tree cover loss, you can also toggle the time frame that you're viewing and press play after it loads to watch it accumulate over time. Sorry, one moment. We'll wait as this loads. In the meantime, while we wait, you can learn more about the data sets by clicking into the Information tab right here. All right, so the internet seems to be a bit wonky for us today, so I'm gonna flip back to our presentation and share some screenshots that I prepared just in case. All right, so this is what the Information tab would look like if you were to click onto it. And here you can read more about the resolution, coverage, source of the data, as well as cautions that you should keep in mind when viewing the data. From the characters next to the data set, you can also change the opacity of the data on the map or X out of the data set to remove it from your map view. Some other key functions on the map include the ability to show only the map. So this would remove the left-hand panel and these two tabs. So you would have a clear map view. You can also share or embed your map view by clicking this button here. And you can take a tour of the various map features to learn more about how to use certain features such as satellite imagery or the analysis function. And you can get to this by clicking the question mark over here and then choose which tour you would like to take. So on the left-hand side of the map, we characterize our data sets into 5 different topics: forest change, land cover, land use, climate, and biodiversity. And by pressing into each topic, you can view the data sets we offer and see which are most relevant to you. So here I opened the forest change tab. And please note that we do have some country-specific data sets. So if we click Add Country and select Brazil, you'll note that we also offer PRODE's deforestation alerts as well as SAD alerts under the Forest Change tab. So there are also Explore and Search tabs. When clicked into the Explore tab, we can see forest topics, places to watch, and stories. Forest topics let you explore data related to the drivers and impacts of forest change, including biodiversity, climate, commodities, and water. Places to watch, on the other hand, are updated monthly and let you explore areas of recent forest loss that are potentially of the greatest concern to the world's remaining forests. Mongabay investigates these areas and writes stories about the loss that was discovered via the GLAD deforestation alerts on our platform. You can sign up here to stay updated on places to watch. Additionally, there's a search function where you can easily locate different data sets, locations, coordinates, and so forth. All right, so under the Forest Change tab, you can find our alert data sets, such as the GLAD Deforestation Alerts. GLAD Deforestation Alerts identify areas of likely tree cover loss in near real time and are provided to us by the Global Land Analysis and Discovery Lab at the University of Maryland. If we turn on this data set and zoom into Brazil, we can see areas across the country of recent likely tree cover loss. And we also can compare where they are located with other data sets, such as protected areas. So here we have a view of various protected areas across part of Brazil, along with loss that occurred between 2015 and 2020. So from here, we can now take initial steps to investigate the alerts by using satellite imagery. So here I found a national park in Brazil that had loss occur between 2019 and 2020. And how I can tell is that I toggled the time frame of the GLAD alerts to 2019 to 2020 instead of being from 2015 to 2020. So now if I activate the recent satellite imagery tool here on the bottom right, you can start to investigate. So we offer satellite imagery from both the Sentinel-2 and Landsat-8 systems. You can filter through the imagery by date and cloud cover percentage. The satellite imagery provides an idea of what the forest area looks like and how it has changed over time. So here you can see a view from January 26, 2020, and you can see right here, it matches up quite well with what we're seeing from the GLAD alerts. However, if we then find a different image from a few months ago, let's say August, you can see it's quite a dramatic change. So loss certainly occurred over time. Another way to look at this and to get a clearer view is to use a base map. So for instance, let's turn on the planet base map. So to access base maps, you can go over here to the base map button and select which one you would like to view. Here we have planet, Landsat, satellite, as well as a couple of other base maps. So for planet specifically, you can sort through both quarterly and monthly mosaics and visualize how your area of interest has changed over time. The planet base map offers 5-meter resolution, giving a really clear view into what's occurred. So here you can see the view from December 2019, and we'll compare it over here to May 2019. So you can see it was quite a dramatic shift over time of tree cover loss. Okay, so in this base map tool, we can also adjust map settings such as political boundaries, labels, and roads. All right, so now aside from investigating with satellite imagery, we can also conduct analyses on the map. So to conduct an analysis, you'll click over from the data legend over to the analysis tab. You can first choose the map boundaries before conducting the analysis, whether you want no boundaries, political boundaries, river basins, or terrestrial ecoregions. From here, there are 3 approaches to analyzing the data on the map: drawing a shape, uploading a shape, or clicking a layer on the map. So let's start with drawing a shape. To draw a shapefile, you can easily place dots and connect them on the map. Once your shape is fully connected, the analysis will occur. Alternatively, you can upload a shapefile by selecting a file from your computer. After you select it, the shape will appear on the map and the analysis will be performed. Lastly, you can click to analyze a shape. So let's say we wanted to analyze all of Brazil. We could click onto Brazil and the analysis would automatically occur. From here, We have the options to subscribe to the data in the region of your analysis, meaning that you would receive email notifications with either monthly summaries for your area or email notifications whenever alerts appear, or both. You can do so by logging into your MyGFW account through either Twitter, Facebook, or Google, and then filling out a form selecting what kind of alerts you would want to receive and what kind of summaries you would want to receive via email. Another option is to click into the dashboard from the analysis. So as you can see, the dashboard offers the ability to view clear visualizations of the data in particular countries, regions, and sub-regions. You can easily manage the data that you view by clicking into the Settings tab over here. And you can also download the data from the report or share the data displayed on the entire report or on a particular chart. And as you scroll down and sort through the tabs, you'll notice different kind of information available to you. All right, so I'll now go back so I can give you a brief introduction into the Forest Watcher mobile app. So Forest Watcher is a mobile application and web-based platform designed to allow easy offline access to data about forest change from Global Forest Watch. It was developed because we realized that a lot of our intended users don't always have reliable internet access. To address this concern, the Jane Goodall Institute, or JGI, Global Forest Watch, TouchLab, and Google partnered in 2016 to create a test version of a mobile app to monitor protected areas in Uganda while offline. Following the successful pilot phase, GFW, JGI, and Visuality created Forest Watcher to enable access to GFW data offline while in the field. This application is currently maintained by Three Sided Cube and GFW. Forest Watcher enables anyone with a mobile device to download deforestation and fire alerts, navigate to the location of the alert offline, and collect information about what they find. It's available on both Apple and Android devices. In addition to the mobile app, Forest Watcher also offers an online interface called Forest Watcher Web that allows users to customize data and forms, retrieve reports, and manage teams of users. Forest Watcher is most commonly used by community forest monitors, park rangers, conservation organizations, protected area managers, journalists, and environmental police to detect areas of forest disturbance, inform their patrol routes, and collect digital information about their observations. All right, so I'll now pass it back over to Colton to talk you through some potential ideas and categories for your projects.
So when applying to the Small Grants Fund, you'll want to consider how you can use Global Forest Watch tools in your project. And so here are some of the types of project categories that we tend to focus on. Forest management, monitoring, and law enforcement, advocacy or campaigning, journalism or storytelling, education and training or capacity building, community engagement. So some examples of current and former Small Grants Fund projects include ProNatura. ProNatura is a current Small Grants Fund recipient based in the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. Their work focuses on integrating near real-time deforestation and fires alerts into their Maya Forest Watch platform in order to monitor and respond to forest threats within several protected areas across the Yucatan Peninsula. To achieve long-term success, they are also focused on training local communities near these areas so that they can use GFW to continue monitoring forest conditions. HAKA is a local civil society organization in Indonesia and another current Small Grants Fund recipient. Their project focuses on building the capacity of local forest monitoring agencies and communities in Aceh, Indonesia, to use GFW and the Forest Watcher mobile app to monitor forest threats across the region. African Conservation Foundation is a former Small Grants Fund recipient, and they use indigenous knowledge with information on GFW to support the establishment of a community-managed protected area in the Tafala-Mon East Corridor in Cameroon. So that again wraps it up for the Small Grants Fund portion and Global Forest Watch demo. We wanted to thank you all for your time, and we appreciate you all for joining us in this webinar. We'll now open it up to questions, so please feel free to type them into the Q&A section. We'll take a few moments to pause to allow you time to write your questions. And in the meantime, we'll also introduce you to Jessica Webb, who's the Senior Manager for Global Engagement with Global Forest Watch.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. All right, so we'll just pause for a few moments while you guys type in your questions. All right, so let's get started. The first question is there some way to use GFW in an automated manner to track increase in forest cover for a predefined area?
That's an interesting question. I guess if by automated, you mean being able to kind of subscribe and have alerts automatically generated to you. You can subscribe to areas within the My GFW function on the GFW map. However, in terms of increase in forest cover, one of the things that, one of the limitations with the forest cover data set on GFW is that it takes a period of up to 3 years for satellites to detect forest cover increase. So it's one of our older data sets that isn't updated annually in the same way that our tree cover loss data set is updated. So in terms of automatically tracking a predefined area, that is a possibility on Global Forest Watch. However, increase in forest cover wouldn't necessarily be the data set that would automatically generate each year.
All right. Thanks, Colton. So the next question is, I work at an organization with a large operating budget, but most of it does not support the projects my team does. Will my application be penalized for the large budget?
No, not at all, not at all. The large budget is more just an assessment of your organization's health in terms of minimizing risk to grantees. So you won't be penalized for a large budget at your organization at all.
All right, thanks, Colton. So the next question is it mandatory to have the professional accounting software in order to apply?
And how about the own? So for the first part of this question, it's not mandatory to have a professional accounting software. It is mandatory to have a computerized financial system for tracking and recording your expenses. And then the second part of the question, how about the own developed system? For the person who wrote this, can you please just in the Q&A explain what you mean by the own developed system so that I can better answer that question?
All right, we'll keep an eye out for your elaboration. In the meantime, the next question is there any record about previous projects financed by the Small Grants Fund? I'd like to read them in order to enhance our proposal.
Yes, as I mentioned near the end of the presentation, if you go to the Small Grants Fund Grants and Fellowships webpage, you'll be able to see a list of all the projects that we have funded in the past, including where they did their work and a little blurb about what their project did or is currently in the process of doing.
All right, great. Another question is there any plan to bring GFW to other Western African countries other than the ones mentioned in the webinar?
Oh, great question. So to clarify a little bit here, Global Forest Watch is available in globally. So a lot of Western African countries, you can use Global Forest Watch. The difference here is that we have specific geographic regions of focus for the Small Grants Fund. And so if I'm understanding this correctly, if there's any plan to bring Small Grants Fund to West African countries, other than the ones mentioned in the webinar, potentially in future years. But again, you can still use Global Forest Watch in these countries. It's just the Small Grants Fund focus is specifically on those listed in that slide and in our guidelines for applicants.
Great. So the next question is, can two NGOs work together in one project? And is it okay to present a project using previous grantees' ideas, but adapting it to our reality?
Great question. So for the first part, can two NGOs work together on one project? Yes. However, we can only subgrant to one organization. So the qualifying applicant would be sent the money, and then you can choose to subgrant to the other NGO or work collaboratively with them on this project. But again, only one organization will be subgranted those funds. And then, yes, it's great to build off other ideas and to be inspired by other ideas. So of course, we welcome projects that build, like take or adapt or build off previous grantees projects in their own ways.
Okay.
So that's fine.
Okay, so the next question is a little bit more on the platform. Is there any way to see if deforestation is from logging in plantations, or if deforestation is from forest fires or something like illegal logging?
Yes, I'll caveat that a bit. So there is a way to toggle different layers on the map so that you can overlay logging concession areas along with GLAD deforestation alerts and tree cover loss. So we have different contextual layers on the map that you're able to toggle on and off to see where there's overlaps. However, we caution against attributing deforestation to these causes in terms of direct cause and effect, but you can infer based on the platform and how you're toggling the data layers, whether or not deforestation is likely to be occurring from logging or from forest fires.
Yeah. Yeah, I can add to that. So as Colton mentioned, there are a bunch of contextual layers on the map. So geospatial shapes that show concession areas and also known plantations. So if you toggle on those layers, then you're able to see if tree cover loss is detected within those areas, it's likely to be from legal logging, versus if you see tree cover loss or deforestation alerts detected in like a protected area, or maybe even outside the boundaries of a concession, or in a part of a concession that's reserved for conservation purposes, then that would indicate that it's most likely illegal or unsustainable deforestation. So the contextual layers can help with that. Another tool that can help on Global Forest Watch is the satellite imagery layers. This is available both through the recent satellite imagery tool and also through a base map for it's called a Planet, which is the satellite imagery provider. So it's really helpful when you're trying to understand what are the potential causes of tree cover loss, to go ahead and look at the satellite imagery that underlies the tree cover loss data. So then you can start to see patterns, whether they resemble logging or some other cause, because you're absolutely correct. The satellites and the algorithm for tree cover loss in and of itself doesn't tell us what the cause is of that. So we need to look at, do some further investigation, look at contextual layers, look at the underlying satellite imagery, and other information in order to be able to try to get at what is actually causing that tree cover loss.
Great, thank you for elaborating, Jessica. So the next question is there any specific topic or theme for the 2020 Small Grants Fund?
Yes, so the main topic or theme for this call is specifically using near real-time deforestation alerts on the platform, so the GLAD alerts that we've mentioned, and turning those into rapid response actions on the ground. So what we really want to see is a clear project that focuses on how you intend to use the alerts and respond to the alerts to monitor and track deforestation in your intended project area.
Great. Another question is, how can a proposal be submitted by multiple partners who came along to support a community in a forested area? Or not how, sorry, can a proposal?
Yes, so as I mentioned before, we definitely accept projects that involve multiple partners and stakeholders and collaborative efforts. However, again, I just want to reiterate that we will only subgrant to one organization in this case. So a proposal can be submitted, and you do have the option to collaborate on an application. in our online application form, there's a ability for you to add other email addresses to help write your application. But again, we will only subgrant to one organization.
Okay, great, thanks, Colton. The next question is, how small of a fire and area units can be detected by a fire alert?
So the fire alerts, the VIIRS fire alerts, which is a NASA data set that we use, it's a 375 meter resolution. So it's a pretty large area. Maybe Jessica can elaborate a bit more on that kind of size.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, the sensor on for the VIIRS fire alerts, as Colton mentioned, is 375 meter resolution. So it's not going to detect smaller fires, only major fire events. It is relatively frequent in that it's updated daily. But yes, it's better for detecting more large scale fire events, not so much the small burns. Those will likely be missed by the satellites.
All right, great. So another question is, will this webinar be available to rewatch later? And what was the name of the company maintaining Forest Watcher? So yes, the webinar will be made available. We'll be sending an email out to all registrants, likely next week with the recording. And Global Forest Watch manages and maintains Forest Watcher. You can download that for free on Apple or Android devices. The next question is, can a former GFW grantee apply for the Small Grants Fund again?
Yes, but we will be looking to see how you intend to build off your previous projects. So just throwing that out there. Oh, yeah. And we definitely have cases of funding former recipients as well. In fact, we have a handful in our current in our current cohort of grantees that have been previous Small Grants Fund recipients. But again, they've outlined in detail exactly how they planned on building off their previous projects. And as long as you maintain focus on the scope of the call, which again is how you intend to use near real-time information into action.
Great. So the next question is, can university research institutes apply to these funds?
This has been a frequent question that we've been receiving. It's a bit complicated, but the main answer is no. We're really looking to build the capacity of small civil society organizations. So no, but please, to the person who wrote that, please feel free to reach out via this email right here, gfwfund@wri.org, and we can talk a bit more.
Yeah, part of the terms of the subgrant agreement dictate that the organization or the grantee has to belong to a legally registered nonprofit organization. So most universities don't actually fall in that space. They have a different legal designation for academia. Sometimes there are research institutes that are affiliated with universities that do have nonprofit status, which means that they can receive, philanthropic funds from, major donors and foundations. So yes, if you feel that your situation falls into that case, please, or you have questions about that, please write us. But there's also a legal and administrative reason why we can't subgrant to many research institutions or universities.
Great, thanks, Jessica. So next question is, can someone submit a proposal based on social media to disseminate the information on the issue of deforestation?
I feel free to clarify if I'm not answering your question correctly. But by proposal based on social media, I'm assuming that you're referring to social media as a medium through which to engage with the general public or your networks on deforestation issues. And yes, certainly. I mean, I think that's if you feel that that's and can make the case in your proposal that social media is the best mechanism or influence strategy through which you can take this information from the Global Forest Watch platform on deforestation happening in your areas of interest and transmit that so that you're achieving the actions that you want to see. So slowing or halting that deforestation, and social media you feel is the best mechanism to do that, then absolutely.
All right, thanks, Jessica. If that didn't answer your question, again, please feel free to elaborate what you mean. The next question is, can an individual be partnered with an organization and implement the project?
Yes, but the organization will be the sub-grantee in this case. So for a lot of, yes, the short answer is yes. But again, it would be the organization that would be granted the funds.
Yeah, and since there's been various questions about different organizations partnering or individuals partnering with organization, when Colton is referred to being the primary sub-grantee or recipient, that means that that organization, by having a contractual agreement with the World Resources Institute and Global Forest Watch, is solely responsible for the execution, implementation, and sound management of those funds. So that organization, that's a primary organization, will take on 100% of that, risk and responsibility. So I just want to make that clear when you're thinking about which organization should put their name forward. Of course, we encourage collaboration and for organizations or individuals to work together, but please be thinking about which organization is best suited to take on that responsibility.
Great, thanks, Jessica. So another question about the platform. We are looking directly at river buffer zones, a 50-meter tract of land designed to protect runoff from logging concessions and part of the logging code of practice in Papua New Guinea. Can GFW data track this level of detail?
So as you heard in the presentation earlier on the Global Forest Watch platform, currently the deforestation alert data, the GLAD alerts, are 30-meter resolution. So theoretically, within those 30-meter by 30-meter areas of lands, at least 60% of the tree cover within those areas should be cleared in order for the satellites and algorithm to be able to detect that clearing. So if you're looking at 50-meter buffer zones, for example, yes, theoretically, if forest has been cleared within those areas, then it should be detected, given that the alerts have a 30-meter by 30-meter resolution. We're also working to update some of the inputs, adding, in addition to right now that the GLAD deforestation alerts are based on Landsat satellites. We're actively working with our partners at the University of Maryland to update those and also integrate data from the Sentinel-2 satellites, which is higher resolution, about 10 to 12 meter resolution. And so we expect that the resolution or the the ability of the alerts to detect deforestation in even smaller areas will be available probably by the end of this year. But yes, the short answer to your question, it should work. If you have shape files of the buffer zones of those rivers that you're looking at, you can go onto the Global Forest Watch platform and upload those shape files and then do some analysis like within the areas that you're looking at. It would be a good idea to do that, or at least go in and approximate the areas by drawing the area yourself to see what kind of data and information is available there.
Thanks, Jessica. So another question is, are there tutorials for using the maps and dashboard? So I'll answer this one. We do have a number of tutorials and materials, as well as past webinars that run through how to use the map, dashboard, as well as Forest Watcher. My apologies for the demo not being live today. It was due to our internet connection, and I know it was a bit tricky to follow. Along with our follow-up email, we can be sure to include some additional resources for you to follow and try to understand how to use the tools. And you can also feel free to reach out to us at gfwfund@wri.org if you're looking for something a bit more specific. So the next question is, how can one get the GFW app and how can it be used? So again, for the Global Forest Watch main platform, it can be accessed at globalforestwatch.org. There you can access the map as well as the dashboards. For the Forest Watcher mobile app, you can download it on the App Store on either Apple or Android devices. You can also access it at forestwatcher.globalforestwatch.org and access the app from there. As for how it can be used, essentially you'll download the app, create an area of interest, and then be able to track alerts within that area. And again, we can send more materials to you to further explain how to use the application. All right, so thank you all again for joining us. We'll be sending this webinar recording likely next week along with some additional materials. But if you have any questions that we weren't able to get to, please feel free to reach out to our team at gfwfund@wri.org. The email's on the screen here. So have a great day or evening, depending on your time zone.